Everyone. Once again, I'm Arthur Ron Walker coming at you again with live Do You Still Believe? So I know during these times of COVID and everything that's been going on, there's been a lot of people to have their faith tested. A lot of people have stopped believing. There's a lot of people that are going through a lot of different things. And I just want to ask that question, do you still believe? I know there's people that have stopped believing in God, stopped believing in Jesus. Some say that Christianity is not even for black people. So I just want to continue to ask that question. So tonight, my longtime friend, Keenen Worrell, will be tuning in, and we'll go live together to kind of address that question of, do you still believe? If so, why? What has God done in your life? How has he affected you? How has your faith changed you? What's been going on to keep you believing? So hopefully Keenen will be tuning in soon, and we'll go ahead and have our chat. Still looking for him, but in the meantime, I'll just wait it out. But I'm grateful for everybody that tunes in, grateful for everybody that's watched. You can continue to follow me at Arthur Ron Walker on pretty much every platform, and I know this will go up on the YouTube, so if you haven't already subscribed to Arthur Ron Walker on YouTube, please go ahead and do that. But that channel's been growing, and I'm grateful for it. Grateful for everybody's support. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Even join TikTok. I don't really post as much anymore, but have some great videos on there for you to check out. But again, just going live tonight to ask that question, do you still believe? So feel free to make comments. Feel free to ask questions. But it's just, I don't know, life changes us. Life changes each and every person. We all tend to go through things in life. Sometimes those things have positive effects on our lives. Sometimes they have negative effects. Sometimes it allows us to grow. And hopefully that's what we're all doing during these times, is growing. Keenen, request to join. And we'll go ahead and get started. There. How you
Yeah.
doing, brother?
What up?
How you doing tonight?
I'm
Or
wonderful,
today
man.
for
How are
you?
you?
I'm doing good, man.
Good,
Real
good.
quick, go ahead and tell people who you are, tell them where to find you. So this will go up on YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. So let them know where to find you and who you are.
Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. My name is Keenen Worrell. I'm on Instagram, obviously, at I am K Worrell. My Facebook is Keenen Worrell, and YouTube is youtube.com/Milliyon. So who am I? I am a father. I am a husband. I am a pastor, and I am a rapper. All of that. I'm all of that.
So definitely got to address that. So last time we really dealt with each other, I know we did touring together.
Yeah.
You were part of the Passion 101 tour.
Yeah.
You've been doing your thing. You've toured with big names. You've been rapping and doing your thing for a long time. So how did
Yeah.
this transition come about? Because next, I know you as Milliyon, and then next thing I know, you're out in California, and now you're launching this ministry, you're preaching, and you're doing all this stuff. How did that come about? Where did that transition come in?
Um, it was a shock. It was sudden to me, actually. I came out, I was doing my thing, and I met my now wife at the time. She was this girl I was interested in when I was on the road, and she was out in California. So I started coming back and forth to California, and we started talking or whatever, and then it was rather quick. Got married, got engaged, got married. And I started serving. Her father is a pastor, assistant pastor at a church out here. And I just started serving. And then one day, the senior pastor asked me to do youth ministry. And where I come from. So, it was like, oh, yeah, I could do that. It's no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of snowballed from there. I served in youth ministry for about 5 years before I transitioned to another church, served there for 2 years. served as the youth pastor, young adult pastor. I served on the executive board, executive pastor team. And then, about 3 years ago, I just, felt the Lord calling me to do something different. And one day, I got baptized and, heard a word from the Lord there. And then here I am 1 month away from launching weekly services of the church that I now am the lead pastor at.
Awesome. I love to hear that type of transition because I know we live in a time where it seems like people go to church and then they get saved and the next day they want to start their own church and they're ready to lead and minister and do all these things. And nobody's putting in work. Nobody's putting in that time and effort. So I appreciate a story like that because I know you've been serving on the front lines for a long time. But then to actually get in ministry and really work your way through the ranks. I mean, you served at a lot of churches in the Atlanta area. You were already in ministry, already doing your thing. So then you're finally being elevated to these different levels of life, but you're ready. You're prepared. So, I mean, I've been checking in on your services. I've been watching what you've been doing with Limitless. And it's like, I see a person that's been prepared for what he's doing. Not just somebody that just jumped out there, said, I'm going to see how this goes. No, you went through the ranks. You did what you were supposed to do. And now you're in a place, brother, and I'm grateful to see that growth and that maturity and to see how you developed from this young man in ministry to this man in ministry, this father, this husband, this real man in ministry. So how has that experience been so far with ministry?
It's been crazy. It's been crazy because, I was actually fine doing music. I was on, how I was happy doing that. So this wasn't like, my long-term plan is to be a pastor. No, my long-term plan was to do what we was doing back then. And I was just happy doing that. My wife, she loves to travel. So I was just happy doing that. And then I just, as I begin to travel, I noticed as people were asking me to do events and asking me to speak, I was able to make impact in other communities. And I was able to serve in other communities. But I wasn't able to do that where I laid my head. And that was a concern for me. I want to make sure that not only am I making impact elsewhere, but where I lay my head down at night. And so now that I have 2 sons, I think about that a little bit differently because this is the place where my sons are going to grow up. I think about legacy and what my last name carries on to mean. I want it to be more than I just kind of just did this and did that. I want it to be something that carries on that my sons are proud of. And so I begin to have a heart for this city, Woodland, California, where I live. And I began to engage in conversation with people. And I became more aware of the emptiness. I became more aware of the void. I became more aware of the depression, the anxiety, the things that this city was being overtaken by. And I'm not going to sit here and do nothing. So I made a decision to not just talk about it, but the Lord enabled me to be in a position to do something about it.
That's wonderful. Just want to acknowledge, I seen a preacher friend, Eddie Conner Jr., pop in real quick. I don't know if he's still on or not, but just shout him out real quick because I know he's doing a lot. You may know of him, you may not. He's been on Steve Harvey's done some stuff with Jakes. He's done a lot of different stuff. He just released a new book, and he's doing it live nowadays, but dealing with relationships and godly relationships. So he's doing a lot. I want to shout out. I know we have a few people jump in every now and then. I've had some people come on, and I always tell people, whether you're on live, whether you're in ministry, whether you go to a church, I was always taught, don't pay attention to the numbers.
Right.
Every time you do anything, you give it your best. And I know we come from a time like that when you were performing, it wasn't always sold out events, but you always give it your best because you don't know who's there that you need to touch that day.
Right.
You don't know who's there that needs to hear what you have to say.
Right.
So it may only be 10 people in attendance, but that one person that you touch might be the next person to change this world.
Exactly.
So with all that you've gone through, with all that you've dealt with, I still have to ask the question that we're here to ask. Do you still believe?
Oh, yeah. I probably believe more now than I have ever believed in the entirety of my faith.
Why?
I it's so many reasons, but the one that really points out to me specifically is, you know, every morning I wake up. I get to wake up next to my beautiful wife. I get to wake up next to my sons. My son Cadence is 3 years old, and if you've anybody who's watched me for a length of time, they know that I tell the story all the time. But my son was born as a preemie. He was born 10 weeks premature. He was born 1 pound 11 ounces. That's about the size. If you could hold a cell phone, or if you could hold 2 slices of pizza, that's about the weight that my son was when he was born. Okay. We were on the way to just a blood pressure thing. They were going to check her blood pressure. We were going to go and buy some stuff, and we got there and they couldn't get her pressure down. And they said, hey, we need you to go to this other place. Don't worry about it. You know, you'll probably be fine. We get there. They wound up telling us, hey, you need to deliver this baby now. This is 3-4 days before Christmas. And they said, we got to get this baby out now. And I'm like, the baby's not supposed to be born until March. It's December. I don't know if y'all know that, but I'm sure, you know, they said, we need to get this baby out now. And so I just remember all of the things going through my mind at that time, and me having this conversation about why, God, you know, I'm 35. I've served you since I was 13. Why is this happening to me? What is going on? And so I remember having that conversation. And as I'm having that conversation, and as I'm going through that, and I'm trying to comfort my wife and be the husband that I'm supposed to be, you know, my wife said the Lord spoke to her. She said the Lord spoke to her very distinctly about my son, and said that no hurt, harm, or danger is going to befall him, that he will be well, that no sickness and disease will attack his body, and that it is done. And so she told me that. This was the night before we even knew that the baby was going to, that morning that they were going to tell us we needed to deliver the baby. And so, you know, my son comes out, and he's little, and he's in the NICU for 52 days. And I just remember just asking God why. And the shorter version is, at the end of that 52-day period, the Lord showed me why. In that NICU, there were 3 other husbands that were believers there. But I would see them coming in, and they would be crying, and the wives would be crying, and they were, you could tell that they were at a really tough place, because their baby may not have been progressing, or maybe they had a bad day, or whatever the situation might be. And I realized in that moment that the Lord had me there to encourage those fathers and to encourage. So I would grab them, and I would pray with them. I would go and check on them. In the meanwhile, I'm holding my child. Like, my child was born, I could fit this wedding ring to his shoulder, in his arms, up his arms to his shoulder. That's how small he was. And I look at my son now, after they said he would have cerebral palsy, after they said he'd be suffering with autism, after they said he have many, and there's nothing wrong with him whatsoever. So every morning that I get to wake up and I look at my son, and he's running around like he owned the house, and he's eating me out of house and home, I continue to believe God, because it is yet another example of God's goodness, his faithfulness, and God's commitment to his promises and his word. Otherwise, my son wouldn't be looking at me in my face. And so I believe now, and every day I wake up, I'm like, he's still good, because I still see him doing what he said he would do.
Yes, sir. That's amazing. I mean, a lot of times as believers, we don't think that any negativity should come our way. We don't think that anything's supposed to go wrong.
Yes.
But what we forget is that God has strengthened us for those moments, so that we can be a blessing to those that need us.
Yes.
He put us in places so that we can be that salt that gives flavor. We have to be that light in the midst of darkness. Because like you said, even though you were going through so many struggles, you were dealing with something, you still had to be light to somebody else who may not have known God like you know God, who may have heard about him, but they haven't really had an encounter with God. So they need a reminder of what he can do. So that's why I'm grateful, man. Andy Ritchie, I Am Cover Girl, grateful for everybody tuning in. These are reminders that God can and will move even in our weakest moments. Because a lot of times that's all he's waiting for. He's waiting for us to just say, I'm not strong enough. I need my Father. And then he's able to use us.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this, because I know you said you were fine touring, you were on the road, you're traveling, you're doing stuff as a man of God still, but in a different way. You're doing your music ministry. How did it feel when you got that call to say, okay, this is good, but I have something else?
It was hard. It wasn't an easy process. It was very difficult because I committed so much time, 35. So let's say, you know, I'm 33, 34, and, you know, I've been doing this since I was 15. So that's a big chunk of my life that I've committed to this. And so dealing with that transition was a struggle, but I'm always aware that God's plan is a lot better than mine. And so I would rather be fully submitted to what he wants me to do than be fully submitted outside of the will of God. Because now it's no longer about me. It's about me. It's about my wife. It's about my kids. It's about my community. When we was out there, it was just us. I tell my wife stories all the time. I was like, we was at IHOP till 3, 4 in the morning because that's just what we did. We was just chilling. It was just us. But now I had to move from a me mentality to a we mentality. And so that transition was difficult. But as I began to walk in it, and I realized that this is another opportunity for me to go to another level, not to look at it as I'm losing something, but that I'm progressing to another area. A lot of times we get tied and we get stuck to this one thing that God told us to do, and we think that that's it and that's all. We make it, we make it a final destination when the Lord only intended it to be a pit stop. And that was what the idea that I had to grasp. And let me tell you, as I get to walk this out, I see God doing even more crazy things. And I'm glad that I and I'm like, hey, because he knows I'm going to be the type like, all right, if you want me to do it, it's on you. It's on you. But I'm going to do it. But it's on you. And he shows up every time. And so that transition was a struggle. But once I relinquish me, we gravy.
Exactly. A lot of people think it's going to be easy. Yeah. When God calls you to do something, a lot of times it's not easy. We can look back at Abraham and Isaac and all these great fathers in the gospel and see that God gave them a command, and it wasn't always an easy transition.
Right.
Like, you're going to still run into obstacles. You're going to have some resistance. Oddly, or ironically, this week, somebody sent me a video from Canton Jones talking about eating from the tree of good and evil and that knowledge.
I saw that.
You know, it was, some parts were kind of a stretch to me, but there was a part that he dealt with where he was talking about just because it's good doesn't mean it's God.
Right.
Now, that part I keyed in on because I'm like, there are some things in life that can seem good. You were doing good. You were doing good as Milliyon. But was it all that God had for you? No.
Exactly.
We have to a lot of times key in on what God has for us. Like you just said, destiny is like a destination. So a lot of times when we start only focusing on the destination, we're actually missing what God has for us.
Yes.
Because it's the journey that God is truly concerned with. How you hold up on the journey, what you do along the journey, and who you affect along that journey. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that the more that people grasp that, and we as believers grasp that, it will change the way that we view where we are. There's a thing happening right now, and it's so detrimental to where we are, and it's so detrimental to the body and to the faith. And it's this thing where people are deconstructing. I don't know if you've heard this term, but it's deconstructing. It's where they're taking everything that they've learned and they're now breaking it down bit by bit by bit, and they're starting over from scratch. Usually, not all the time, but usually this thing is rooted in offense, or it's rooted in something happened, or it's rooted in, hey, this person, and now I realize, and now I see, now I'm questioning everything else. So now I'm going back, and this thing is happening where people are falling away from belief because of what they encountered along the way. And so they take this encounter and now they judge this encounter or this realization off everything that they've learned. That's like me taking something that happened yesterday and evaluating that based on the past 15 years of my life. And now I'm taking this and I'm saying everything that I encountered here isn't true. So let me go back to the beginning, take this one encounter and base everything off of that. No, 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 no. When we encounter these highs, when we encounter these lows, when we encounter these disappointments, when we encounter these situations that may be really hard and tough situations, those things have no bearing on the faithfulness of God. Those things have no bearing on the word of God. Those things have no bearing on the love of God for our lives. These are parts of the journey that we must embrace. And as we embrace them, they allow us to grow. They allow us to mature. There are going to be disappointments. People will always disappoint you. It says it in the Bible. Guess what?
Yeah.
Nobody is perfect. And anytime you lean on someone in the assumption that they're perfect, what I found is God will always expose them so that you can realize that they're not who you should be dependent on. It should always be God. But when you take these things and you do that and no. God is always faithful. His word is 100% true. Just to be clear, I believe that Genesis to Revelations is the inspired word of God. And that is what I believe wholeheartedly. And there's no situation that I'm going to encounter along the way. Because guess what? There were some times we didn't get paid. There were some times that people told us that they was sending the check in the mail and we still waiting on the check.
Amen.
That's not going to. There are some people that we thought was 100 and that are nowhere to be found. That is not going to affect how I feel about God, because this is my relationship. And the relationship that I have still proves that he's true time and time again. So if you're on this path, if you're watching this and you're on this path and you've encountered these hurts, you've encountered these things, don't take that to be a representation of God. That is a representation of people. That's not a representation of God. Hold on to that. This is going to grow you. This is going to mature you to the man and the woman that God has called you to be. Don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Because I'm telling you, God is still in the business of doing miracles. He's still in the business of blessing, and he still has a plan, and he's still going to complete that plan if we remain willing to stay to the end. A lot of times we don't want to stay to the end. When we encounter these situations, like, you know what, that's it. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. God never got tired of you. He never got down. He could have been on the cross and be like, you know what, I'm tired of this. But he didn't. And that's what makes the difference along the journey. And that's what holds us to see to the end.
Yes, sir. So I saw a few people saying, oh, he preaching. Come on now. Where can they hear more from you?
Sundays, we launch our church August 22nd, which is about a month from now. Like you said, it's called Limitless Church. Our goal is to take the limits off of the way that people see Jesus, off of the way that they see faith, off of the way that they see the church. There's a lid or a cap when you come in contact with people who've been hurt or non-believers when they hear Jesus, when they hear faith, when they hear church. Our desire is to be a church where people come in contact with people who love Jesus, and we are able to take the limits off of that. So on Sundays, I'm preaching. You can catch it on Facebook Live. You can catch it on YouTube. We'll have podcasts up shortly, the Limitless Church podcast. I'm also working on some other stuff. So I would say follow me. I got a newborn, a 4-month-old. So, I'm trying to work out my schedule. But, if you would like to hear more or you're looking for it, just follow me on social media. Check out the church if you're in the Northern California area. I would love the opportunity to say hello and meet you and give you a hug. Or if you have any questions, comments, rebuttals, direct message me. I love having these conversations because I think this is where light is brought. So that's where I'm at.
Absolutely. Like I told you before, this is really meant to kind of be a short introduction type of thing. So we're not going to go too long. Again, I'm Arthur Ron Walker. This is Do You Still Believe? With my wonderful guest, Keenen Worrell. I am K. Worrell. Any last words that you have for the people? And again, let them know anything else that you think is important. As we get ready to
I would encourage you to still believe. I don't care what's going on around you. I know that the world is crazy. Guess what? The world is supposed to be crazy. I know that you probably encounter people who don't love Jesus. Hey, that doesn't mean anything. I guarantee you that God still loves you. I guarantee you that he has a plan. And I'm excited for you to have an encounter with Jesus, whatever that looks like. So hold on to the end. That's all I got. I love you. Thank you for having me on. I'm honored, and hope to do it again soon.
Of course, brother. And anything you need, I'm here. I know that we also have talked about a book, so I do want to make sure you mention that. Yes. Because when you told me, and I want you to give that same little synopsis real quick of what you told me, because it pulled me in. I'm like, I already know you, and I want to know more.
Yeah.
So what's the book going to be about?
There's a lot of things mentioning even my son, and there's just a lot of things that God has done that have really been like really miracles. And it's a continual walk of my life that I've experienced since I was about 13 or 14 years old. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to encourage anyone who may be at a place where they're doubting their belief. I wanted to create something to where people can see that this is a walk and everyday occurrence. This is a lifestyle of God doing miraculous things. And I don't really get the time, and I never got the time to really talk about it when I was on stage. But this book that I'm writing will kind of chapter and talk about all those things, and talk about even the process that I'm in right now with launching this church. There's been like some crazy miracles that have taken place that people don't even know about, that I'm excited to talk about. And so this book was, I think I titled it, If I Tried to Tell You, You Wouldn't Believe Me. And that's really what it is. It's categorizing, because and what's funny is my dad, Worrell, my godfather, he was like, if you try to tell anybody this, like, they're not going to believe it. And I'm like, I know, that's why you're here, because that way when the book come out, nobody can be like, oh no, he's crazy. I'm like, no, this is stuff that really happened. And so I just want to encourage people, because I feel like what's happening right now is there's a adverse. People are saying God is not real. He doesn't do miracle. He wasn't who he said he was. This whole Jesus thing is a fake thing. And I'm like, nah, bro, I got 20 years to tell you about it. So I'm excited. If I tried to tell you, you wouldn't believe me. That is the book I'm in the process of writing. Thank you for encouraging me to write it. Thank you for putting this out there, because now I got to do it. So
and that's why I put you on the spot. See, it's a lot of people that talk. It's a lot of people that talk about doing stuff, but there's some people that need to do the stuff they're talking about.
Yeah.
See, I run into people all the time, and they got all these ideas, and they want to do this and they want to do that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what's up. I'll see. But then I run into some people where I hear what they have to say, and I think, you need to do this.
Yeah.
You're one of those people that I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm saying to you, you need to do this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that need to hear your story. There's a lot of people dealing with the same things you've dealt with. But a lot of times when we're going through things, we think we're the only ones dealing with that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need other believers, other strong people to come behind us and say, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
I've been through it.
Yeah.
I've gone through some terrible things in my life, but I had to be man enough to stand up and admit my part in it, and admit that if it had not been for God bringing me through, I wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that I know right now that wouldn't have made it doing what they're doing if I wouldn't have been bold and courageous enough to stand up and say, God did it for me and he'll do it for you. Shout out to Author James Black. I just seen him fall through. Like, there's been so many people that I've encountered along this journey that we were talking about that have now written books, started ministries, started businesses. And I think to myself, if I wouldn't have been able to stand up and say, God did it for me, they may not have believed that he could do it for them.
Come on.
And that's what Christianity to me is all about.
Yes.
It's just one man telling another man or woman where they found food.
Yeah.
This is where I found my nourishment. This is where I found my sustenance. I was hungry just like you, but I ran into this man that taught me how to fish. I ran into this man that gave me the tools I needed to be the person I was supposed to be. That's what Christianity is.
Yeah.
It's not all the magic and all these things that people start believing that it is, and then they walk away because it didn't happen the way they thought it was going to happen. It's just some hungry people
I know you gotta go, but I gotta tell you this.
Tell me.
This is how crazy this is. The people are looking for this. I'm gonna keep this super short. What's this? Whatever today is. Last week, Friday, Saturday, I talked about this in my service on Sunday. I'm outside, my kids outside, my wife's outside. It's hot. It's like 106 today. It's been crazy. It's sin in the camp. I don't know what's going on, but it's super hot. So I got this sprinkler outside. My son's outside. My landscaper comes up. I've known this guy for years. He's been doing my yard since I've been here 8 years. He comes up to do the yard, and I'm telling him about church. I'm telling him about the services. I've already told him a minute ago that I was launching a church. He walks up. This shows you how hungry people are. So he's like, I show him the video with the baptisms. I got to baptize some people last week, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, you baptized? He's like, oh, da, 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 da. He was like, how do I get close to Jesus? Out of the blue. No beating around the bush, no sugarcoating, no nothing. He says, how do I get close? I want to get close to God. How do I get close to Jesus? I was so stunned that I had to gather myself and ask him to ask me that question again, because I couldn't believe how. And I was like, oh, wait. I was like, say it again. He was like, how do I get close to Jesus? It was nothing. And at that moment, I had the opportunity to lead him to Jesus, to get him a Bible. He showed up on Sunday. We got him a Bible. He accepted Jesus Christ that day. But this is a random gardener that walked up to me. I'm sorry. I apologize. I got loud. But what I'm saying is that people are hungry for this. So when you live your life, Tay, and people see and they know what you've been through, and they know what you've gone through, and they know our story, people are hungry.
Yes, sir.
They're hungry. That's why Jesus told the woman at the well, he said, you drink of this well, you ain't never going to be thirsty again. This is what people need. And so I applaud you. I continue to encourage you to continue to go, because you're inspiring me. Now I got to write a book. You see what I'm saying? And as people's lives are going to be affected by this live and that book as a result of you walking in the obedience that God has. All right, man. That's it. It's
preaching good already.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Wrap it up right there. Go ahead. See, I like to do this because then I can go ahead to my prayer closet again and I get all excited about God. And it's just good to speak to like-minded individuals that understand the move of God. Yeah. We all need to practice it more. So again, my brother, I thank you. I applaud you. I'm so grateful to see the growth that you've had, the growth that you're having. Grateful to hear the story that you just told about your son. I think that's some of the greatest testimonies that we can have. To see God move in our child and then continue to grow them. And then every day you get to see the miraculous things that God has done. Yes. So I'm going to continue to pray for you, pray for your family, and pray for your ministry. God bless you. Anytime you need me, you have my number. Reach out.
Thank you, sir. The same here.
Have a good day and enjoy tomorrow too, brother. Love you, man.
Peace.